feel very peaceful, feel free just to carry on sitting. That's okay as well. Just carry on meditating. So I've been invited tonight to talk a bit about the Dhamma, what the Buddha taught. As we chanted just now, we chanted Itipiso, recollection of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. The Dhamma is called the Swakata Dhamma. The Dhamma, the teaching that is well expounded, well taught by the Buddha. That's probably why you're here, why you're interested in Dhamma. You already have some faith, inspiration, interest in the teaching of the Buddha. Perhaps it makes sense to you. It already has helped you understand yourself and life better, perhaps. I know that's the case for me. When I first began studying, reading about Buddhism, I was amazed at the clarity and wisdom of the Buddha. And every question I had about life and what is good and bad, what is happiness, what is truth, the Buddha seemed to have an answer for everything. So for myself, that's what drew me in, wanting to learn more, and also coming to understand that the Buddha taught the Dhamma, the Swakata Dhamma, and he said that the Dhamma is, he says, akaliko, ehipasiko, sanditiko, okanayiko. It's apparent here and now. Even this Dhamma, this truth, is something you can learn right here, right now. It's not something you have to wait and find out about next life, or at some point in the future. If you want to know the Dhamma, the truth, you can know it right here, right now. And it's something you can prove, witness, prove for yourself. It's not just something you go on the words of the Buddha or other people. The Buddha actually encouraged us to practice and know for ourselves. And that's another quality of the Dhamma, okanayiko, to be known by each individual for themselves, through their own development. So although we rely on the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, teachers to give us advice, information, teachings, guide us, actually to fully practice what the Buddha taught, we had to learn from our own experience and know for ourselves. That's why just now we did a bit of meditation to give you encouragement in doing that, and finding out for yourself about your own body and mind, and find out the truth from your own experience, not just from the books, not just from me telling you. All I can do is explain as much as I know, but you also have to play your part. You have to find out for yourself. One of the most inspiring things I found out when I began practicing Buddhism, a long time ago now, was that if I don't know, if I don't find out, there's no one I need to blame for that other than my own lack of effort, my own laziness. It's back onto me if I haven't realized or understood the Dhamma. As you notice, our habit nowadays as human beings is any problem in life, we're always looking for someone to blame. Blame the government, blame our parents, blame our husband, our wife, blame our siblings. as a Buddhist monk, I spend a lot of my time listening to people blaming others for their problems, blaming the world. Sometimes we blame ourselves. We turn on ourselves, which is very sad. But we're always looking for someone to blame. Then my problem is from this person or this issue, this person. But the Buddha said, in terms of Dhamma, really there's no one to blame. It's just something you have to keep investigating, looking for, observing, understanding. And if you don't understand the truth of the Dhamma yet, it's because you haven't done it enough, you haven't looked hard enough. It's like the man who came to Ajahn Kalyano and said, oh, this Dhamma you teach is so deep, so profound, I don't think I can I'm ever going to know it, and there's no way I can really experience it or understand it. It's like trying to dig a well in my fields to get water. The water is just too deep, so I can't get that way to get the water. And Ajahn Chah straight away said, no, the problem is not the water is too deep down. The problem is your arm is too short. You're not trying hard enough. So if you haven't realized the Dhamma and you're not free from stress and suffering in your life, you still get moody, angry, you're still blaming people, you're still unhappy in one way or another, that's because you haven't tried hard enough. Your arm is still needs to be a bit longer. So the Buddha was the most mature of all teachers. He wasn't saying, I'll do it for you, which is no good really. You don't want that, because then you become lazy again. It is work for the Buddha to make us enlightened or make us happy. So the Buddha didn't say, pray to me and I'll solve all your problems. The Buddha was mature as you can get, saying, you've got to solve the problems. I'll give you the tools, the method, the knowledge, the info, but you have to take that away and practice. So where in mature teaching, putting it back onto us, just like a good parent will not just teach them, will not just spoil their kid and say, I'll give you everything, you just sit down and do nothing. That's not really going to help the kid, is it? The good parent is going to encourage their kids in their education to learn things, to be reliable, to be able to help themselves, because the parents won't be around forever. You have to give them that knowledge and skills so they can help themselves. Or as we say in Australia, where I'm from, well, not originally, but where I live now, it's like the magpies. We have all these birds in Australia, a lot of birds, and they have magpies. And the magpies, they build their nest around this time of year in the winter, and then they lay their eggs, have their babies, and the baby grows up. Once it hatches, and then all day long you're hearing baby magpies demanding food, and mom and dad just run around, fly around with them, run around off the ground, getting worms and bugs and whatever. And they fly back and keep feeding baby, and baby just keeps on going, all day long. And mom and dad are so tired, but they'll do it, and they won't give up. So you might think, oh, this is no good. Baby's just going to sit there for the rest of its life, squawking away, requesting food. And mum and dad are just going to run around giving baby the food. But in around a few months' time, in September maybe, September, October, what happens? There'll come a day when baby has grown up, it's got wings, it's still going wing all day long, but now mum and dad know time has come. And sometimes mum or dad sits on the edge of the nest and just pushes baby out. And babies go, huh? And they fall, but they're big enough to fly now, and so they start flying. It's what we call kickstart. And they push them out and they start flying, and mum and dad fly right next to it. It's a very beautiful thing to see. You see the baby fly for the first time. They can do it quite naturally, and mum and dad fly next to it. It's just like when the Air Force do the show with their planes all flying together. They do it quite naturally. And after that, the baby is on the ground, and still sometimes mum and dad will run around feeding it, but they also need it. You're time to get on and feed yourself. And so baby becomes strong, independent. And that's really what the Buddha was doing with us. So when you're sitting there in your meditation, complaining about your painful knees, or thinking about your boss at work and how you're annoyed with him or her, thinking about your partner, your husband, your wife, complaining, you're just a little magpie going, me. And the Buddha is giving you the Dhamma, but he's going to stop one day. And you're going to have to take over. That's why you need to learn how to look after your mind. Ajahn Kalyano said it's really sad. A lot of lay people, or monks, but particularly lay people, they don't really look after their mind. He said if you don't look after your mind is like an orphan child without parents. But who's going to look after this mind if you don't? No one else is going to do that. The Buddha or a monk can encourage you and wish you well, and your family can encourage you, and friends, but they're not inside your mind, are they? They're outside, and they can only help you in a sort of superficial way. You have to learn what you need to learn to depend on yourself, to be stronger, to understand things better, to be more peaceful. You have to do that. You can't just sit there complaining about your lack of merit. Oh, Ajahn, I've got no merit, no barani, I can't do this. This is what we like to do. We're looking for sympathy, maybe. That only works occasionally, doesn't it? It's not going to work for very long. You have to learn to rise up through your practice, look after your mind. Really, you have to take over the work from your parents. They've given you so much to get to where you are now. Now you have to take over, but you're doing it for yourself, looking after your own mind. When you're a child, your parents tell you what is right and wrong, good and bad. And with their love, they give you all that support. But once you become adult, you have to do that for yourself. No one else can do it for you, because no one else can be in your mind, as it were. You'll notice if you're meditating, how much of your meditation, how much time do you spend thinking about other people, even in your meditation. I'm sitting here saying, watch your breath go in and out, but everyone is thinking about this person and that person. We love to think about other people and we neglect or forget ourselves. So of course we get stressed, we get worried, we get angry, we have all kinds of stress and suffering because we spend all our time thinking about other people. You might say that's the first hurdle in meditation, is you think about other people less, turn your attention back on yourself. That's why the Buddha wanted us to develop mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying attention or knowing yourself in the present moment. So you need to practice that, and that's why we practice mindfulness of breathing. It's the mindfulness that we're really developing, using the breath as a vehicle, as a technique. But it's mindfulness we want. And as you practice paying attention to the breath, or any other meditation object can be used. The mindfulness becomes stronger, more continuous. And people often say, oh, I've got no mindfulness, Ajahn. That's not completely true, is it? You have some mindfulness all the time. If you have no mindfulness, you just collapse on the ground and you wouldn't be able to do anything. You have some mindfulness, it's just it's not continuous. We're mindful that we forget ourselves, get lost in our daydreams, or fall asleep. All this happens when we lose mindfulness. But we have some mindfulness, and that's what we have to build on. It's like seeds. The seeds are there, but we have to nurture them, let them grow, just like when you garden and growing crops. So the Buddha was only getting us to develop from things that we already have. We have this body, we have a mind, we have the quality of mindfulness, we have intelligence. That's one thing that defines a human being. We're intelligent, we can think, we can reason, we can understand things. We're much better off than the baby magpie. It really is. Although magpies are quite intelligent birds, it's pretty limited. We are the most superior being on the planet. But we spend half our time doing crazy things, hurting each other, annoying each other, getting intoxicated with things, losing our way all the time. We don't use our intelligence in the best way. So the Buddha was simply out of compassion, encouraging us to develop the qualities that will help us to be better human beings, to be happy human beings. And we have the practice of sila, which requires some mindfulness and some intelligence. Why do we keep precepts? Because it keeps us out of trouble. Why you want to live a peaceful, happy life? Well, if you keep the 5 precepts, that's one of the basis for a peaceful, happy life. If you follow the 5 precepts regularly, you develop mindfulness, effort, and you start reflecting on your behavior, what you say, what you do, you'll notice when you don't keep the 5 precepts, things go wrong. You start to suffer, don't you? There's consequences. So, the first precept, killing, you undertake not to kill. Why? Because when you kill, you make quite strong negative karma. Most people don't notice it, they kill a few bugs, ants, or small things, and they don't really notice this. But if it's something bigger than that, well, you start to notice straight away. If you become angry, you hit your dog or your cat, or you have to trap a rat, to kill a rat or mice, or you see a snake, you can kill the snake. And then you feel it much more. You feel the anger, you feel the karma, the consequence more strongly. And worst of all, if you hear try to hurt a bigger animal, like a horse or a cow, or biggest of all, as it were, is the human. If you get so angry that you try to hurt another human being, you really feel something, don't you? Mind has to be full of emotion, negative emotion, anger, hatred, and the consequences are more. If you really attack someone, well, then you go to the police, you end up in jail. If you were to kill someone, well, that might be the end of your life. Pretty much, they lock you up and throw away the key. So just one precept already, if you follow that, keeps you out of so much suffering. And naturally, if you are refraining from killing even little animals, bigger animals, and humans, your mind is going to have a lot of goodwill, what we call metta, maitri. Because if you know that it's an unwise, unskillful thing to hurt others, you know that, then you are providing safety to others. They're not going to have to feed you because you're one who's going to hurt them. And And the Buddha said that's one of the greatest gifts you can give to other people in the world, the gift of safety. We call it Abhaya Dharma. Everyone says, oh, I might go into Dharma, come the Bodhisattva, offer Dharma. We usually think of Dharma as food, offer food or requisites. But the higher kind of Dharma is Abhaya Dharma, the giving of safety, security, by keeping precepts, non-harming. So if you live with someone, usually you take it as normal that if you live in a family or with friends, you're not going to hurt them. But it's not guaranteed, is it? If you get angry, maybe you're tempted, maybe you have the thought, I wish he was dead. Hopefully you never act on it. So you may have the thought, but usually you take it as normal. You are not going to hurt the people you live with, so you feel comfortable. If you've ever lived with someone who is violent, then you're not comfortable, are you? It's like you're on edge, it's unpleasant. So if you can keep that just one precept, you're giving this great gift of safety and security to other people. That requires mindfulness, again. To keep a precept, you have to say, oh, this is good for me, it's good for others, I'm going to follow this. And so you have to be mindful. If the thought, you want to throttle your boss, oh, I'm not going to act on that, so you have to be mindful. Throw out this thought, get rid of it. Same with speech. We hurt each other through speech. We insult each other, we tell lies, we speak in ways that cause people to dislike each other. We do all kinds of unskillful things with our speech. But once you reflected on this, you bring out the mindfulness, you reflect, oh, when I tell a lie, I don't feel comfortable in myself. If you're truly mindful, you'll notice that. It's not comfortable. There's something in your heart, something in your head that says, well, I'm not happy doing this. Even if you disregard that feeling of discomfort and still tell a lie, you'll notice it. So our speech can also hurt others. So if you undertake to not tell lies, insult, abuse others with your speech, again you're giving this great gift of safety, security, happiness to others. Same with property. Ajahn Kalyano used to say, oh, when people always think they're smart, I can take something that doesn't belong to me, as long as they don't see, I can do it. I can get away with it. But they always forget they're there. There's always one person there, that's you. If you steal something that doesn't belong to you, you know about it. So if you're hurting yourself, your own mind doesn't feel happy with that memory of, oh, I stole that bit of money, or whatever it may be. It could be very subtle, filling your taxes. It could be more obvious, just picking up someone else's bag or purse. But you're there, even if no one else is there. So you feel it, and it's like a little bit of your goodness is reduced, diminishes, and something more negative, worse off, comes into your mind at that moment, if you were to follow that intention. But if you're mindful, you may catch that, oh, I couldn't live with myself if I stole their property, their money, and this and that. So even if no one knows, you know, so you're not comfortable with that, so you don't follow through with that, even if the opportunity is put right in front of you. Someone leaves their credit card here, everyone's gone home, there's a credit card. What do you do? Oh, I can use this. Oh, you maybe give it to Leonard and say, oh, we have to find a person returning, so put it somewhere safe. So you give safety, security to the people around you when you keep precepts, but you're also protecting your own happiness. You don't have to undergo consequences, negative consequences. So this is probably the first place we practice mindfulness, looking at our own behavior, mindfulness of our speech, our action, keeping precepts, requires mindfulness, effort, and we have to think it through. Why do we do this? Once you realize it's a good thing, then you're inspired, you're motivated to keep doing it over and over again, and it'll get easier. Like when I first practiced Buddhism, I was a teenager, and I thought, if I had precepts, very difficult. But practicing meditation and practicing mindfulness, I started to notice if you break a precept, you don't feel good in yourself. It's like some of the goodness of your mind disappears. Just a little bit, but if you keep doing it over and over again, the mind is slipping. It's getting worse. You're worse off as a human being. That requires paying attention to what you say, what you do, and not just once, ongoing. But if you determine to keep the 5 precepts, well, this improves your life in so many ways. You have to become wiser, your intelligence is improved, you become more mindful, more peaceful in yourself, and then the world around you is also more peaceful because you're giving this gift of peace, safety, security to others. So the Buddha said, Mahadana, great gift. They're free. To keep precepts doesn't cost anything. It's not something you have to pay for or go out and find somewhere else. It's something that you develop yourself through your own actions. Some people develop the precepts by practicing meditation first. Many Buddhists are like that, but they haven't yet thought about precepts, but they go and meditate. Someone teaches them mindfulness of breathing, for example, and then stuff is coming up in their mind. They're remembering, oh, I shouldn't have said that, I feel so guilty, I feel so bad about having said something, hurt someone's feelings. You killed some insects in your house, you took something that didn't really belong to you, but I felt you could get away with it, and you took it. So, when you're meditating, often the consequences of your breaking a precept will come up, and you'll see the suffering quickly. Sometimes it's just very small things like been talking a lot of triviality, foolish things, maybe gossiping a bit, backstabbing someone, putting them down, running them down. When you start meditating, you come up with memories and you feel a little bit uncomfortable. In that moment, you think, oh, now I can see what I was doing. You regret it, you feel unhappy about that. Then you get your intention coming up, I want, from here on, I don't want to say those things anymore, I'm going to change that habit. We all know about giving up bad habits, and usually we think of it, I eat too much, or I smoke cigarettes, or sometimes drinking or gambling. But there's a lot of very refined bad habits we also have to become more aware of. And as you meditate, you notice speech habits. You're a compulsive liar, or you swear a lot, or you take out your anger on other people, say the words. There'll be things that you start to notice as you meditate. Or another big problem meditators face is there'll be something from their past. Maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a very common one, maybe they killed fish, chickens, or rabbits, or some animal, hunting, or whatever. And then as they're meditating, it keeps coming up. Shouldn't have killed that thing, shouldn't have done that. Or relationships, you maybe had a relationship where you got really angry and you keep speaking in anger to someone, and then when you're meditating, it keeps coming up and you feel uncomfortable. Often people find that's a big obstacle at the beginning of meditation. It comes up and they keep remembering, their mind keeps going back to this They feel, oh, I'm no good, I'm a bad person, I feel guilty, and they can't yet go beyond that. So, we all know when you meditate you might have some pain in your legs, some itches, some sensation in your body. That's very normal. But you also have all these painful memories as well. They come up. You've got to learn how to be very patient with that. You've got to accept maybe in the past you weren't so mindful, you weren't so understanding of the Dharma, and you did say something or do something that wasn't so skillful. You hurt somebody. Now you have to live with the memory, but the important thing is when the memory comes up, to have the mindfulness to know this is a memory. You can't change something that happened 5, 10 years ago, can you? You can't go back in time. But you can know the memory as it comes up, and maybe a painful feeling comes with it. And you can say, this is the consequence of that action. So from here on, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to change my way. So you're teaching yourself. You're being like your own mother and father, but inside. They may not know anything about this. This is personal. But you're teaching yourself, I've got to change because now I see the harm of whatever I did. Maybe you didn't do anything, but if you did, when it comes up and you see the stress, the suffering of that memory, what do you do with it? You're just going to suffer for the rest of your life, or what you have to do is acknowledge it and say, this was not the right thing to do, okay, it's painful. If you hurt somebody else, maybe you have to, in your mind, you mentally apologize, and set your mind on making amends. And if that person's still around, maybe you have to go and talk to them or do something as well, maybe. But more importantly is also you have to be able to say, this is just a memory now of something I did before, now I've got to move on, I've got to let it go. And when you're mindful you can do that, because you're paying attention and you're saying this is just a memory now it's time to let it go. When we're not mindful, what do? We tend to take it as self. We attach to the idea that I am this person that said or did that bad thing, so I'm now a bad person. And you carry around this kind of idea, I am a bad person because of what I did before. Even though that event is completely finished now, it's gone, a long time ago maybe. And it may have been an unskillful bad thing, you broke a precept, you hurt someone, but it's over. Now you're suffering in the present moment by holding on to the memory and reacting with some sadness or anger. That's where you need the mindfulness to say, this is the past, I'll let it go. Move on. I forgive myself, I forgive others. Sometimes it's involved with other people who have hurt us as well. Sometimes it's back and forth, they hurt me, I did hurt them. Many different situations. But you have to learn how to recognize this memory and let it go. Even if there's an unpleasant feeling, okay, this feeling, I know where it's come from, now I'll let it go, and you move on. And if you do that with mindfulness, you can change your behavior, and then you're free from the past. This is what we call changing your karma. And this is another question Buddhists are always asking, how can I change my karma? What they want is the monk to be like Harry Potter, wave a magic wand and all your troubles are gone, it's finished. It doesn't work like that. You wave a magic wand and you've still got that memory coming up in your mind. This is why mindfulness is so valuable, why meditation is so helpful to us, because you can really see where your suffering is coming from. Holding on to the past, reliving it, attaching to it, carrying it around and saying, this is me, who I am, this is what I've done. Where really what we have to do is acknowledge it and then let go. And meditation, mindfulness practice and some reflection will help you to do this. So this is often a big obstacle in the beginning of meditation. You get all these memories and stuff coming up, you feel bad about yourself, you feel guilty, you feel agitated, not comfortable. And often people give up. I can't do it. I'm thinking too much, I'm not careful. I'm not peaceful, I can't do it. Because what you really have to do is come back to say, oh, I need to practice more, I have to bring up more mindfulness and work with this until I can let it go. And you can let it go because we know the Buddha taught this, Ajahn Kalyano, my teacher, taught this. Many people have practiced this over the years, and it can work. We can do this, but we have to practice. This is why we practice this quality, develop this quality of metta. As you're developing metta, you're developing the right kind of attitude to deal with your own weaknesses, unpleasant memories, faults, things that have gone wrong that are coming up in your mind. You treat them with goodwill, then you can look at them and let them go. But our habit is usually to compound our suffering, we make it worse. So we think of what happened and then we say, oh, I'm a bad person. And then we blame ourselves more and think more and more negative thoughts, and over again we keep hitting ourselves. And often it leads on to then we start looking at other people and blame them as well. So we've got all these negative thoughts, either blaming ourselves, blaming other people. Whereas what the Buddha was encouraging is to bring up this quality of mindful awareness, look at what's going on and see where you need to change your thinking and maybe let go of some of this negative thinking. Or often it also you just need to be very patient with what's coming up. Quite often you actually don't need to do very much other than be mindful, be patient, see these thoughts, they're just coming up, the memories coming up, and then they pass away and you can let them go. And we know that you can do this with everything because we know the story of Angulimala, the monk who used to kill people because he had a teacher that taught him all the wrong things. So you really get enlightened by killing 1,000 people. Got it completely wrong until he met the Buddha and he gave up that way. And he had memories of what he had done, and people still hated him for what he had done, but he could become enlightened. None of us are mass murderers. Has anyone killed 1,000 people? No. Probably haven't even killed one person, I hope. So we don't have as much to deal with maybe as Angulimala. We should have an easier time. You're all on fast track to Nibbana here. But Angulimala could get all the way to Nibbana even though he completely got in the wrong direction to start. He managed to get back on track and live with those memories, overcome them by seeing them as impermanent, and we say not self. When we're not mindful, we take everything as permanent and self. So you have your memory and you're living with it. This is me, I'm hopeless, I'm terrible, I'll never get enlightened, I'm a bad Buddhist, blah blah blah. We do this all the time. What we have to do is, I'm going to establish mindfulness here and see these are thoughts that arise and cease, feelings, emotions that arise and cease. They're not self. They're impermanent, they're not self. If you can do that, then you can start to let things go. Your mind immediately starts to feel better. This isn't, suppression, isn't denying things. Quite the opposite. You're recognizing what's going on in your past, what's coming up in your mind, but now you're treating it with mindfulness and wisdom and letting it go. Once we've understood this principle, then you can go much deeper. You can go down to get that water down in the ground. You can go deeper into the Dhamma because you know about this practice of establishing mindfulness, letting go of whatever's coming up. And the mind has a chance to really settle down and become peaceful. Not only in your meditation, but in daily life you see the relationship between what you say, what you do, how it affects the mind, how it comes back to disturb your mind so that you become more careful what you say, what you do, and then you start keeping the precepts more carefully, more seriously perhaps. Then your meditation will be able to progress better, more peaceful, more mindful. Then the Buddha said you have to really look more closely at everything that you attach to, not just the bad stuff, but makes you feel unhappy when you remember it. Even the good stuff you have to let go of. And that's more tricky, because everyone likes the good stuff. You feel happy, that we make some good karma, we offer dharma, we help someone, we volunteer, we listen to the dharma, even the happiness that comes when we meditate. This is all the good stuff. The Buddha said we even have to see this is not self. Because if you attach to the good stuff as self, then you've got another problem. As we all know, when you've meditated and you feel quite peaceful, you go away and say, oh, that was a good meditation. And then next time you come back here and you meditate and it's not the same. You don't have that feeling of peace the next time. Then you get annoyed again. You say, oh, can't do it. I had this nice peaceful feeling, my meditation was so good, why can't I do it today? And you feel disappointed. Some people even get up and go, oh, I can't meditate, and give up. Because they've been attaching to the good results, the pleasant feelings, the good states of mind that we're experiencing, rather than saying even these are still impermanent and not so. So at every level of our practice, the beginning, the middle, the end, these reflections come into how we have to look at what we learn. You could say we have to learn how to go beyond good and bad, good and evil. That's the highest dharma. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the direction we take. I mean, we begin with very ordinary things. So, you might help somebody. Tomorrow you go out of your way to help someone, do a favor for someone, or you offer some food for monks, or you go and help some relative or friend do something. You let someone into the queue, or you're queuing in your car, or you're kind, let them go first. You help your colleague at work, give them some information, do something for them, make their day better. All kinds of little things we may do. But you also have to watch, bring up the mindfulness and ask yourself, am I attaching to this? Am I now going around saying, oh, look at me. I'm the kind one in the office. I am the one who helps everyone. I'm the one who lets people, the traffic go ahead of me. I'm the happy Buddhist driver. Or if you have a good meditation, I'm the one who can meditate, feel really blissful. We have to keep watching for those kinds of attachments too. They come up in very small ways, can't they? You feel good about what you've done. And that's not necessarily wrong, but just be careful that you don't attach to it, because then you may start wanting to repeat that experience, hold on to that experience. So good and bad both have their drawbacks. Bad is fairly obvious. When you do things that are bad and you attach, you feel terrible, you feel sad, you feel unhappy. But even the good can catch us out when we start wishing for more good experiences or to do. Like sometimes people have merit competitions to see who can make the most merit. Occasionally you see it even in Buddhist temples, not often because the monks' job is to remind everyone not to do it, but you sometimes notice it. They offered that, so I'm going to offer this. They have this big pile of food, like this pile of food, bigger, better, higher. In meditation, can we say, I can sit for a whole hour So someone comes along, I gotta sit for 2 hours. It happens, hopefully not very often, but it happens. You get merit competitions to see who's the better person. It's still a sense of self that comes up. Even monks sometimes, like when I was a young monk, there was once an unofficial competition to see which monk could sit in full lotus for longest. I was terrible anyway, so I gave up. I couldn't sit in full lotus very long, but there were some monks quite good at it. And when they sit, usually we sit like this, your robes are covering your leg, you don't know who's in full lotus or not. But the ones who are in the competition, they bring their feet. So even monks can get lost in this one. So even doing good can become competitive, can be something you're attached to. As I said, it's probably better than attaching to the bad if you don't want to compete to do bad, but still doing good is not something you're attaching to or competing with. You have to reflect it's still not self. You do good and then you let go. That's what a teaching Ajahn Kalyano used to say all the time. You do it, the good thing, and then you just let go. You don't have to dwell on it, hold on to it. It's not like you walk around with a badge on your These are the very ordinary kinds of attachments which will come up as we practice Buddhism. Sometimes it's knowledge, who knows you more, who's read more sutras, who can quote the Buddha, who has all the knowledge, who can expound. Sometimes like that, sometimes it's monks, so again, sometimes the monk, the junior monk who wants to impress everyone. So come, listen, and telling everyone about the Dharma and how good it is, and speak very eloquently. And maybe some good is done in that, but at the same time, there's a bit of an attachment to the knowledge and the giving of knowledge. It can be that way, and not just monks, many people, they like to tell each other what the Buddha taught, how things should be done. Or occasionally, if they're very attached, they don't want to give away their knowledge. It's the one way the Buddha said we can be stingy with our knowledge. Keep it all for ourselves. We want to be the one in the know. We want to be the one with all the merits. So we don't want to let other people know. I often tell a story of even a mother and a daughter wouldn't let each other know their secrets. So like one found a shop where you can buy the kind of cloth that monks used to make their robes. A really good cloth. They found this special shop. So the mother found the shop, bought a big rolled cloth, offered it to the monks. Very happy, the monks were happy, oh, this is really good cloth. The daughter said, I want to do that. Mum, where's the shop? Even mother and daughter sometimes have their secrets. I'm not going to give it. That may be something you have to work on, isn't it? If you're stingy with your knowledge, your dharma, sila, bhavana, anything, that's where you have to let go. Share if that's what your particular problem is. You have to get to know yourself, be more aware of yourself, see where your weaknesses are, where you're attaching. Could be to knowledge, could be to the bliss of your meditation. Another one is what you've seen in your meditation, the very common ones. You come to the Buddhist center, there's always someone saying, oh, I meditate, I've seen the light nimitta. Even the light nimitta, or it changes colour. Someone else said, oh, I've seen heaven, I've seen hell. There's one monk who's always telling us, I've seen Maitreya Buddha. Oh, I'm very happy. Everybody else is saying, I haven't seen Maitreya. So sometimes the experiences in meditation, you get very excited, you've got to tell everybody, or you've got to maybe embellish it a bit, exaggerate a bit to try to impress people. So maybe you have a very ordinary meditation, but oh, and you're going to find something to tell them, so exaggerate a bit. These things will do, they're what you might call an extension of your personality. You become attached to, I've got to be the good meditator, or I've got to be the kind person, I've got to be the wise one who knows everything. You'll find all of these kinds of qualities coming up in your mind as you're meditating. So this is where you have to learn. In the beginning, Ajahn Kalyano is saying in the beginning of meditation, these two qualities, ditthi, in attachment to your views, your opinions, expressing them, attaching to them, and then mana, which means conceit, sense of self. These are the biggest obstacles in the beginning of meditation. And you're meditating, you're practicing Buddhism, so you see people are always, when they're new to it, they're often not happy because other people are telling them what to do. Don't like that. We've got our own view, our own opinion. Or other people have a different opinion on how to do things, how to meditate, how to arrange the monastery, how to do dharma. Everything can be a basis for disagreement when you have strong attachment to your opinions, your beliefs, your views. Even Buddhists can fall foul of this. A strong sense of self. I know what is right, I know what the Buddha taught. And then someone else doesn't know, so we get clash. It can happen. Even though everyone comes in with the intention to do good, have faith in the Buddha, they want to do the right thing, learn, but still the sense of self will come up because we're so used to it. We've grown up with it and we haven't fully observed or got to know ourselves yet. So you're sort of walking around saying, I'm practicing Buddhism, but also the sense of self is walking around with you. And at first you don't notice. Maybe the only one who notices is the teacher. Oh, this person's still very, the modern word is big ego. And they've got a strong sense of self, and they will come out in the way they interact with others. It can be anything. It could be something as simple as just the way you set up your meditation seat. You set up your seat, your cushion. You see this on retreats, and people come in and they pick their spot. This is my spot. On the left, on the right, and then for the rest of the retreat, it's a 5-day retreat, 10-day retreat, that's their spot. And then someone else who knows nothing about it walks in and sits there and the Buddhists get so angry and everyone's like, hold on, this is a meditation retreat, why are they getting so angry? And it's only over a cushion that they adopted as theirs, as an extension of themselves. That's my place. It can be my spot, even my plate, my cup, all kinds of things. If it's monks, sometimes it's robes. You attach to your robes. Of course, they're your robes if you're using them, but the attachment comes maybe sometimes monks because our robes look the same. Sometimes we pick them up by mistake. Someone else's robes. Normally, you would recognize someone else's robe and you quickly return it to them. But occasionally you don't. So the monk walks away, and then the monks whose robe is lost and clear, and the robe goes. They see the monk with their robe and say, you did it deliberately. No, it's an accident. Everything, we can attach to everything. Methods of meditation cushion, robes, everything. So all of this is food for... Aircon, yes. We've had that battle before in the monastery. Press the button, turn the button on. Human beings are like this, and especially when they're new to the practice, they're full of their own preferences, ideas. We say self-conceit and views, attachment to views. So we have to start shedding this. You practice mindfulness, the reason you become peaceful is, of course, as you go to the breath, you're letting go. The only way you can successfully, mindfully be with the breath is let go of all this stuff. You learn to let go whether the aircon is on or not, whether you're on your favorite cushion or in some other spot, whether the person next to you is having amazing visions or not. It doesn't matter. When you go to the breath, all of that is not important anymore, is it? So the Buddha was encouraging us to reduce the amount of importance we give to all these external things and give more importance just to the simple task of developing mindfulness when you're using the breath as a way to let go of everything. Why did he teach us that? Because it's peaceful. It makes us peaceful, it's refreshing, it's peaceful, and by letting go of some of your views and opinions, you're not actually losing anything. All you're losing is the delusion that makes you attached. So you can still pick up an opinion after you become mindful. It's not you don't have any more opinions, it's just you don't attach so tightly that it leads you into suffering, arguments with other people, or negative states of mind. You know an opinion is just an opinion. A view, a bit of knowledge, an experience is just what it is. A thought is just a thought. A feeling is just a feeling. Ajahn Kalyano would use this phrase all the time. Feeling is merely feeling. Thoughts are merely thoughts. Memories are merely memories. Once you're more mindful, you're seeing in that way, so you can start to let go of things. You become much more peaceful and happy with yourself. Even if you have a very negative thought come up about something, well, the negative thought is just a negative thought. You can see it, you know it's an unreasonable or harmful thought, something that you don't want to hold on to, so you let it go. Once you're mindful, you get a lot more freedom, internal freedom to pick and choose what you think, what you believe in, what you hold on to in your mind, how you treat the memories, the emotions that come up. You have freedom, because now you're mindful, you can look and learn from your own experience. This is like seeing the Dhamma or knowing the Dhamma inside. In the beginning you notice yourself, you have all these ideas about Dhamma, but you're missing the things coming up in yourselves. Maybe different emotional states come up, you're happy, you're sad, and you're attaching to all of them. Because we're still looking outside. We have to train ourselves, practice to come looking back inside. But mindfulness is compared to a mirror. We turn this mirror now to look at your mind internally, rather than always looking out there and comparing yourself with other people, getting caught up in the world. Ajahn Kalyano used to talk about the man who understood this point. He learned how to use his mind, and he could let go of strongly held views and opinions on things which cause so much suffering. And he went to the marketplace and he bought what we might call a chamber pot. In the old days, in bedrooms they didn't have toilets, construct. They'd have a chamber pot under the bed, and you'd use it to go to the toilet in the morning and take it out. So you go buy a chamber pot. You go, oh, this is a really good pot. Brings it home. This is a really good pot. So he put it on his stove and cooked his rice in. And he's got this chamber pot with rice in it. His friend comes around and says, why have you cooked rice in a chamber pot? He said, well, it's brand new, clean, never been used. It's just a pot. But his friend didn't have a chamber pot. And started looking down and you're a person eating rice out of a chamber pot. How can you do that? The man, though, is one who understands about seeing through the more superficial reality that we attach to it. He said, okay, it's a chamber pot, usually in society, that's what they call it, but it's clean, it's never been used for that purpose, it's just a pot. I put my rice in it, I cook my rice in it, and it does a good job. This is the kind of freedom that you get from meditation. You can start looking at things in a different way. I'm not suggesting you all have to start using chamber pots to cook your rice. It's just an example of how to look at things. Because where do we fall down? We have this attachment to the superficial appearance of things. So we look at each other, male, female, young, old, rich, poor, knows a lot, doesn't know a lot, this person I like, this person I don't like. We suffer because of this. And if we never start looking at the root cause of the suffering, turning the mindfulness inwards, then we keep getting stuck in it. The mind of the liberated ones, the arahants, the Buddha, they've seen through all this. They know that this body is just a collection of elements. So they know these elements, air, fire, water, earth, one day they must break apart. What we call old age, sickness and death will happen, and we die. There's no way a human body can last forever. Impossible. So the liberated ones, the arahants, they know that. So they know old age, sickness and death is to be expected. It's just normal. But most people are not thinking like that, are they? Most people go through their life and oh, he looks handsome, he looks average, he looks beautiful, she looks ugly, he's well dressed, he's badly dressed, he's like this, he's like that. We're just caught into this superficial way of relating to people, to the things of this world. We're not seeing through to the Dhamma, the deeper Dhamma. Physical bodies are the four elements. Minds, they're also elements. Harder to see because the mind is invisible, but how do you see your mind? Well, thoughts come up, feelings, emotions. You need to practice mindfulness to see that. And what do you find when you're observing your mind? You find that thoughts arise and pass away. Feelings, emotions arise, pass away. And that can help you because when we're not very mindful, we attach to everything, every thought, every feeling. And it causes a lot of confusion, suffering, particularly the more unskillful negative thoughts. When you identify with them, it makes you feel very unhappy. As I was saying earlier, the good thoughts, the pleasant ones, the skillful ones, we can still attach to. They still can cause us suffering. It's just not so obvious as the unskillful negative thoughts. But all of them we want to be looking and seeing. They arise and cease. That's the nature of the mind, the human mind. We think, we feel, we remember, these will arise and cease. Ajahn Chah said it's like grabbing a snake. A snake will bite you and sting you and hurt you. So nobody wants to grab the mouse, they always want to grab the snake's tail. If they have to grab a snake, they'll grab the tail. But what happens is the mouth gradually comes down and bites you anyway, it just takes long. That's like happiness and suffering, pleasure and pain. Pleasure is like the tail of the snake. You pick that up, you think you're fine, and you're holding by the tail, but it actually comes around and bites you anyway. The head is like pain. Nobody wants to touch the head, nobody wants pain. So stay away from the head of the snake and don't grab the tail. But the tail is like happiness, pleasure. When you attach to pleasure, sooner or later it comes to bite you. You can't hold on to it forever, you can't keep that pleasure. We're always falling into this, aren't we? We're always rushing after the pleasure. We want things that we like. And the pain we try to avoid, get rid of. We're never peaceful. Buddha was encouraging us to develop mindfulness and see actually these two things are both not good to attach to. They both will cause us pain. That's the mind of mindfulness. Just knows things as they are. Pleasure is just pleasure, pain is just pain, gain and loss. Praise and blame, status and honor and loss of status and honor, these are what we call the worldly winds. They're going up and down all the time. Quite difficult to control. We think happiness is being able to control all the worldly winds. You have as much wealth as you want, everyone praising you, own whatever you want, be powerful, influential. But nobody can do it. It's impossible. Because wherever there's some praise, there'll also be a bit of blame. You look at the world, there's not a single person, the Buddha said, there's not a single person who's just praised. Only get people praising them, flattering them, saying the nice words. There are many people who get a lot of that, but they'll still get someone who doesn't like them, criticizes them, negativity. Even the Buddha had to experience that. It's like the Buddha is the Buddha. Completely pure, peaceful, wise, compassionate, helping everybody. There's still people who didn't like him, jealous of him, think he's wrong, think they know better, putting him down, even they were about to try to kill him. That's the Buddha. So us, we're hardly not going to have this. We're bound to get some criticism, somebody doesn't like us, someone's jealous of us. We're bound to get some of that. If the Buddha gets it, we're going to get it. So that's not the way to happiness, always trying to get what you want in the world. The way to happiness is actually being mindful and seeing the true nature of these things as they're impermanent. Praise is impermanent, blame is impermanent. Today they praise you, tomorrow they blame you, next day they praise you again. You see that all the time. Gain and loss, you gain wealth, you gain things, then you lose it again, you spend it, you give it away, someone takes it away, it's gone. That's the nature of the world we live in. The Buddha wasn't trying to make us get everything we want in the world, he was trying to get us to see with mindfulness that the nature of the world is imperfect. And it's a mixture of gain and loss, praise and blame. But keep your mind in the middle so you can be at peace with these changing conditions. We've sort of got around a few different issues and themes for Buddhist meditators tonight. Hopefully it's been of use to you, but I'll end this talk here and wish you all well in your practice. And after this, maybe there'll be a chance for some questions.